bigger brace, Joy Taylor. He had a setback this week with his ailing left knee. He needed extra time, rest, and rehab. Took a hit from the Lions linebacker Christian Jones this week. And he said, yeah, a little bit of a setback. I trust my medical staff. But he's got a strained medial collateral ligament, deep bone bruise since the season opener. And, of course, this all started week 1 with Khalil Mack. When Khalil Mack got traded by Oakland to the Bears, and that was the first game for Aaron Rodgers, and the Bears were bringing heat, and Khalil Mack had the greatest defensive first half in the history of football, and they suddenly couldn't block Khalil, and they were dubbing Khalil, and there was a sack on Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers got hurt, and Khalil Mack is massively affecting 3 teams. This won't happen, but right now I'd give Khalil Mack the MVP, not Patrick Mahomes. Literally, Oakland has a top 6 defense in the NFL. They're 1-4. Why? Because they're last in the NFL in sacks. They can't hold a lead. They can't get to the other quarterback. The Chicago Bears defense, number 1 in the NFC. They're number 2 in the NFL in sacks. Number 2 defense overall. They lead the division. Why? Khalil Mack. It ain't Mitch Trubisky. And Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers still isn't right. I mean, just look at it. Khalil Mack's the only player in the NFL affecting either positively Bears or negatively Packers, Raiders, 3 different teams. To me, if you ask me who the MVP of the league is today, it's Khalil Mack. And Aaron Rodgers is 34. By December, he's 35. Now, this week he gets the Niners. He'll win. Then he gets a bye. Then Green Bay's schedule is brutal. At the Rams, at New England, Miami, at Seattle on a short week, at Minnesota. And they got to go to Chicago again and Khalil Mack. So that would be my MVP if I voted on it today. I'm not a big MVP guy. I don't care about the Heisman or awards, but I'd give it to Khalil Mack. Nobody's affecting 3 teams. Patrick Mahomes is not affecting 3 teams. Khalil Mack is. And, by the way, I think Aaron Rodgers knows. Every year in the last decade, we have all considered Green Bay a Super Bowl threat. And they are not a Super Bowl threat this year. And I think Aaron Rodgers knows it. Remember, Greg Jennings came on this show, and Aaron Rodgers is somebody who wears his emotions. You can see it. And Greg Jennings said this a couple of weeks ago about Aaron Rodgers. He knows this is not a Super Bowl team.
For me, what stood out was his body language, his demeanor, his lack of involvement with the guys during the game. He had a look on him like he was disgusted, but it was kind of that, woe is here we go again. There was one image that they shown during the broadcast of the game where he went to the sideline, he put his hands across his lap, he's sitting there. They show his receivers there on another bench, they're looking as lost as little puppy dogs as well. There's no fire.
There isn't. He knows it. By the way, you think I'm crazy saying Khalil Mack should be the MVP? What is value? Let me ask you this. Is Aaron Rodgers now the best player in his own division? I don't think he is. If you go to every division in the NFL, let's do it right now. Best player in every division. Let's go AFC East. Well, there's no question that Tom Brady's the best player in that division still. Could have been the MVP last year. In the AFC East, Tom Brady's the best player in the division. Let's go to AFC West. Joey Bosa is very good for the Chargers. Hasn't been. I'd say Patrick Mahomes right now is the best player this second, right? And I. By the way, he's flawed, but he's healthy and playing well. Best player in the AFC South, Andrew Luck's good, but I'd say it's Jalen Ramsey, who's the best pure corner cover in the NFL. Shut down Gronk when they played him. In the AFC North, the best player is Antonio Brown. Again, there's a bunch of good players in that division. There's a bunch of good players. Let's go to the NFC. Best player in the NFC East. Odell Beckham's really, really good, but if you're asking me best player, I'm not necessarily value. Who's the best player right now in the NFC East? I would say Carson Wentz. Who's the best player in the NFC West? Aaron Donald's good. I'd say it's Todd Gurley. Who's the best player in the NFC South? I'd say Drew Brees. And who's the best player in the NFC North? It's Khalil Mack. It's Khalil Mack. It is not Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is not as good as Khalil Mack as a player right now. Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback. You can talk about valuable, but, I look around and at Aaron Rodgers, and I hear this story this morning, another setback, and I watch his body language. First time in a decade, I think he knows it. This is not a Super Bowl contender. Now, it's only early October, but it doesn't feel like it, and I think Aaron Rodgers knows it. Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
So we've all heard the comments that Odell made to Josina Anderson earlier in the week, and we've discussed them at length. Yeah. Well, our very own Jay Glazer reported before the game last night that the Giants fined him for those comments. According to Pro Football Talk, Beckham didn't let the team know that he was going to do it. And again, according to Glazer, Pat Shurmur was, quote, absolutely livid about the comments, and that Odell was told to apologize to his teammates at a team meeting last Saturday night where he admitted that it was the wrong message to send.
Oh, boy.
Are you okay with the fine?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had real mixed emotions and feelings about Odell Beckham. I support him criticizing Eli, but he's immature. He's juvenile. And, he's the face of the franchise. This is a very conservative franchise. And they rolled the dice and said, we're going to make our franchise player a fragile perimeter player who at times can be incredibly immature and reactionary, and this is what you get for it. They're in the news for the wrong stuff. I did support him criticizing Eli because nothing I saw last night proved him wrong. But this is when the face of your franchise is young and immature. This is the stories you get in the paper the next day.
Well, I don't have a problem with the fine because I'm sure it's a policy of the team that if you're going to do a national interview that you have to let the team know that you're doing it. So that's, whatever policies you have in place for that, you have to apply to everybody. I don't think that that's the thing that he would get. Had it been not a comment about Eli Manning, they probably would have still fined him. We just never would have heard about it because it wasn't such a big deal. But he said something about Eli. But maybe Eli's just the wrong quarterback for Odell.
Well,
you can't let a talent like Odell go. So, I mean, aside from the fact that Eli is obviously, getting towards the end of his career, not at the end of his career.
Who's Eli the right quarterback
Well, I'm saying because you have a talent like Odell, and he is the personality that he is, maybe he needs somebody who is a stronger voice than Eli, a more assertive personality to balance him out. Maybe that's what they're missing.
I mean, Jared Goff doesn't talk. Jared Goff and Odell would get along fine because Jared Goff can still throw.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that the Rams, just top to bottom, are built differently than the Giants. Like, the veterans that they have on that team are just in another league when it comes to the leadership levels that they have.
If you win
and communication.
Personality, because if our show's doing well, personalities, conflict.
There's personalities on every team.
But when you're bad, that is...
Everything is highlighted when you're
Eli could be the quietest guy in the world. If he had Aaron Rodgers' arm and Goff's person. I think this comes down to.
I don't think that Goff is quiet though. I think he's just very good with the media. He knows how to say a lot of things while not saying nothing at all. So the Packers have definitely not gone off to the kind of start that many of us expected from Aaron Rodgers and company, and even more unexpected has been their offense. But the king of relaxing isn't panicking.
Oh boy.
We are very close to getting things going. And like I said then, I'll say again now, I feel like if we can get off to a better start on offense, it makes the entire squad play with a different type of confidence. We couldn't go out there and execute. Now, we need to execute at a higher level, but we're not far off. This league is the difference between being a great team and an average team is very small. It's a few plays every game, and the difference between scoring 23 a game and 35 a game is plays that we need to make and we expect to make and I'll make moving forward.
Nah, I don't buy that.
Well,
I have no running game.
The problem also is he's injured, and he came into the season injured. He's going to go out of the season injured. It's very hard to recover during the season from a knee injury. And Jimmy Graham also didn't practice yesterday, also with a knee injury. So we'll see what happens. Although Mike McCarthy did confirm that Rodgers did practice today after sitting out yesterday. I don't know. Finally, LeBron James says his real streak of 8 consecutive NBA Finals appearances means a lot to him, but he also knows it could very well come to an end this season. He told Yahoo Sports' Chris Haynes, the final streak means a lot. To have a streak of anything is significant. Games played, threes made, finals appearances. These are things that you can always talk about when you get older and are done with the game, but at the end of the day, they'll all come to an end. Pretty self-aware statement.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you move to a new franchise and you're rebuilding it. Really, the Lakers, you're rebuilding them. The last 4 years, they've been terrible. The last 5 years, they have the worst record in the NBA below Philadelphia. You know, you're starting over. My first year at FS1, we weren't going to set ratings records. You're building a set. You're building chemistry. You're building a team. I mean, he's just building. LeBron is building a new culture. It's not just basketball. This hasn't been a winning culture in half a decade. So I think it's going to take a while. I expect them to win 48 games, but I don't think they'll be very good in October and November. I don't. I think they'll be really choppy until past Christmas.
No, and I think it's going to be a little bit of panic setting in for people who are expecting things from the Lakers right away, because they have to come together. And this happens with every single LeBron team whenever he moves. The first couple months, it's choppy. Yep. And that's just the way it is. And there's a lot of young players on this team, so it's going to be even more choppy.
Yeah. Can't wait to watch it, though. Joy Taylor with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie
I
News.
remember about a month ago we had Brian Cox on the air. This was like August. We had Brian Cox on the air. Do we have that tape? He and I disagreed on something, and here's the tape.
In my opinion, the NFC East is not that strong.
You don't think so?
Giants are no good.
Now, that's a little strong.
No
good?
No good.
Nate Solder, Odell, Saquon Barkley.
No good.
They're no good?
No good.
Why?
They might win 5 games.
Oh, come on.
You got Pat Sherman as your head coach. This record. I mean, I don't see winning coming out of there.
Well, I guess he was right. Brian Cox joining us on a Friday. 3 Pro Bowls, a Super Bowl champ, coached on 5 teams, played for that last night. And I started my show saying I grew up in a non-traditional family. Some people go to church. It's mom and dad. I had some divorces. It was a different family. I've never been a big nostalgia guy. Some people are, and some of it's great.
Right.
It's great to go back home. I didn't grow up with that, so I'm not nostalgic. Raiders went backwards to get Gruden. They're a mess.
Really a mess.
Giants, Eli Manning won Super Bowls, went backwards. They're a mess. I watch them right now. You say 5 wins. Find them for me. This is a disaster.
I think at some point the offense will start to look like an NFL offense, but there are ways away. And the thing that I have to have a little respect for Pat Sherman, because when he went there, they must have told him that Eli's our quarterback. And are you okay with keeping Eli? Eli's done. And, oftentimes people say the quarterback get all the blame or too much blame. In this case, he deserves the blame, because when you look at Saquon Barkley, home run hitter. Now, I hope they don't run the guy into the ground and get him beat up this year and injured. And then you got Odell Beckham. They can't throw the ball to themselves, And I think the issue as well is they over-touted this offensive line in the preseason. Oh, we went and got this guy. We did. And they're as bad an offensive line as you've seen in this league in quite some time.
And they're becoming an easy team to defend. They really are. It's like Eli's a check-down guy. Everything they throw to you is in front of the defense. They have no big play capability unless, Odell makes a one-handed grab of a sideline.
Right. But the thing that I will say about that, though, is Sherman was playing it safe last night, knowing how good Philadelphia's front 4 is when they rotate the 8 guys and they can get after the quarterback. And I think he was anticipating some blitzes that did not occur. So I think that, he was playing it a little bit safe last night. But Eli also wants to get the ball out of his hand. He's playing hot potato right now. He's like, don't hit me.
He don't want to get hit.
He don't want to get hit.
I've always said that September in the NFL, it's Miami looked good in September. Denver looked good in September. Ryan Fitzpatrick looked good in September. The weather's perfect. Everybody's healthy. There's no vetching in the locker room. Then October comes. Now you lose a couple of guys. Now you're on a 2-game losing streak. Now it gets windy and rainy. And I watched the Eagles last night. They're good again. I watched the Steelers last week and the Patriots. They're good again. Kansas City was 5-0 last year in September.
Right.
They're 5-0 again. You think they go into New England? You think it's just going to be sunshine and roses? I think they go to New England and get their tail handed to them.
No. They're going to win. Patrick Mahomes is for real, number one. He's different than Alex Smith.
5 wins.
Yes, he's different. The second thing I'd say about it is nobody's talking about Eric Bieniemy and the effect that he's had on the offense. 2 years ago, everybody talked about Doug Peterson and got him a head coaching job. Last year, they talked about Matt Nagy. And they were quarterback guys, so it helped when they went to interviews and they said, hey, I'm going to bring a quarterback and I can work with him. Bieniemy has done a really good job looking at it from a different angle, and it's forced Andy Reid to be more hands-on with the quarterback. This offense is different. And so I think that they go in there and they can score because New England's defense, especially the McCourty brothers, can't run with any of the weapons that they have on the offensive side of the ball, whether it's Hill, Watkins may not play because he's hurt, whether it's Kareem Hunt, whether it's Jason Kelsey. They have weapons everywhere, and I'm not sure New England has the speed to keep up.
But by the way, and I understand this, we fall in love with shiny new toys. Right now, Cleveland leads the NFL in rushing and defense. They're second.
Right.
And yet we're all like, it's Baker. He's got 3 TDs and 3 picks. Let's slow down.
Right.
They're a running team. They lead the NFL in takeaways. They're doing it with defense and running. But Baker's new and he's fun and he's brash and we put our arms around him. And by the way, I like Sam Darnold, but his success so far this year depends entirely on the running game. Last week they ran, Sam looked great.
Right.
Monday Night Football against Detroit, they ran, Sam looked great. Against Jacksonville, they couldn't run the football, Sam didn't look so good. So I will say this, all these young quarterbacks can play. Give me your takeaway on Mayfield. I like him. He's accurate, but I think we're now going overboard. I think this Cleveland story is their running game and their defense.
But I think also you have to look at the effect that Baker has on the team. He energized the guys. And one of the things when you talk about greatness, you talk about making people around you better. He has that it factor. And so the numbers are not great, but they lost 48-45, I believe, in Oakland.
Yeah.
They're putting points on the board. However, they're getting them. And then the defense, Greg Williams is doing a really good job, and nobody's talking about the job that Todd Haley's doing on the offensive side of the ball.
What do you make of Darnold in New York then? Because this week he faces Andrew Luck. I'm not sure that's going to go well. That's one of my blazing 5 picks in less than 30 minutes. What do you make of Darnold so far?
I think that he is going to have his inconsistent moments, but he's a guy that you can build a team around and win with because he doesn't get flustered at this point, not afraid to get hit. He's going to make some mistakes, but he's also going to make some really good throws, have some really big games, and he's going to put this offense in a position that they can win.
By the way, he's best quarterback in New York?
Oh, he's better. Eli's not a quarterback anymore. He's a was or has been, if you will. He's not relevant anymore, and the Giants, unfortunately, as an organization, won't make the change. I mean, his best days are gone. So you run the risk of doing 2 things: alienating Eli, and the team starts to talk behind his back in the locker room.
By the way, there's a story this morning. I just read this. Let me read this. I'm glad Brian Cox here. I'm glad you brought this up. Sources say several Giant players have expressed frustration with Manning's performance in the locker room.
And that's when you start to have big problems. So when you get into those situations, the head coach has to do 1 or 2 things. He's going to have to take the play calling duties and hand them off and become a head coach, or he can still be the offensive coordinator. Because when you call the plays, like Hugh Jackson did in Cleveland last year, he had to turn it over to Todd Haley so that he can get to know the defensive players as well. I'm sure when you're on the team and the head coach is the play caller, he doesn't have the ability or the opportunity to go and get to know the guys on the other side of the ball because he's so involved with the offense that, you know, hey, what's the next play? What next series? What are we doing? That's a hard job.
Peyton Manning got benched. He got benched. Eli Manning, it's like New York's petrified to criticize him. Isn't it remarkable?
Well, they benched him last year.
And then, by the way,
got the coach fired.
And they got the coach fired. It is amazing how we're handling him with kid gloves.
Right. Well, I think that they respect the fact that he has 2 championships.
All right, that was years ago.
It was the defense and it was the pass rush, but nonetheless, quarterback gets all the credit and they get all the blame. So he's getting the blame right now.
Okay, finally, you're a linebacker.
Right.
I said Khalil Mack's the only guy in the league that's affecting 3 teams. Oakland's 6th on offense. They're 1-4 because they can't get to the quarterback.
Right.
Green Bay's quarterback's hurt because of Khalil Mack, and the Bears lead the division, not because of Trubisky, because of the best defensive front in the NFL in several years. I think he's the best player in the division. I think he should be the MVP of the NFL.
No way. No way.
What?
No way.
You can't.
First of all, we're only 4 games in. I think they're 3-1. And they're going to lose in Miami this week, by the way.
Why? No.
The Heat will make a coward out of you. This is the time of year where the teams in the north, when you start to get down into the 40s and it starts to get cold, you go down to Miami, and if you don't treat it like a West Coast trip and go on Friday, you go Saturday, you dehydrated when you walk off the plane. It's like somebody put a plastic bag over your head when you walk off the plane. You're like, oh, my God. This is different. And when you get on that field.
You played in Miami.
Oh, I know. And I also played in Chicago wearing number 52, and we went to Miami, and it was like, oh, God, this is different. This is different.
So, Joe, you lived there. So Miami is still, on a Sunday afternoon in the stadium, it's going to be 94 degrees in the field.
There's 1 week of the year in Miami where it gets to, like, I don't know, 50 degrees.
Right.
So you've been a Bear, you've been a Dolphin. You think Chicago goes down there and melts?
Yes. This time of year, when you go from like week 6 till Thanksgiving, this is the time of year where the teams that do less win more, because guys are now over the new part of the season. It's not shiny anymore. So now it's the teams that do the least amount of stuff, not try to trick people, and just go play ball, that usually win more games from now until Thanksgiving. This is the hardest part of the season.
By the way, Miami, listen to this. It's going to be 86 degrees, 78% humidity. Now, that's outside the stadium. In the stadium, you get less air.
Yes.
So in the stadium, you have people, you have grass, which increases the moisture.
Just think about that today. We're in LA. I think it was 59.
So it's going to be in the stadium. It'll probably be 93 and 88% humidity.
And what is it in Chicago, I wonder? It's got to be in the 40s in Chicago.
So you think the Bears are going to go melt?
Oh, they're going to melt.
Oh, it's not the heat that gets you, it's the humidity.
And you said it makes you a coward.
It makes you a coward.
It's 43 degrees in Chicago.
It makes you a coward. That heat, not in the first quarter, not in the second quarter, but when you get midway through the third quarter, you on oxygen. You got to go to the locker room and get an IV. I mean, it makes a coward out you. I've seen players, great players.
When you were a Dolphin, you saw guys melt.
Oh, the most famous game that I ever saw guys melt, when we were playing the Atlanta Falcons at a 1 o'clock game, and it was October, November. I looked to the sideline and saw Deion Sanders and saw the receivers over there, Mathis and what's the real good receiver from Detroit? I can't think of his name. Andre
Johnson.
No.
Roddy White.
Rising. Bad Moon Rising.
Bad Moon Rising.
They were sitting on the sideline with towels over their head, and they were laid out, and I was sitting over there looking like, we got them now, boys. Let's go. Full on pressure. Let's go. I mean, it will make a coward out you.
Well, you're probably right. So we got it's going to be 90 in the stadium, 90% humidity, sunny skies, no air movement inside the stadium. Brian Cox, good seeing you.
Nice.
Coming up next, Dallas, they got it on spin cycle. I'll explain what I mean coming up next. You ever taken your car in for an oil change? Mechanic finds something else wrong and you got a $632 bill? That's why once your car no longer has a warranty, that's usually year 3 or 4, you need carshield.com. It's extended vehicle protection. So you don't go in, if you have a sensor light out, if you have a warranty, you don't pay for it. If you don't, you pay $1,800 for it or $1,100 for it. They give you 24/7 roadside assistance, free, rental car, while yours is being fixed, free. You pick the mechanic. They pay him directly at CarShield. And you can pick the mechanic from the dealership you bought the car. Make it easy. And again, $2 billion in claims, they pay that mechanic directly. So save yourself hundreds or thousands with extended vehicle protection. CarShield.com code HERD. That's CarShield.com code HERD. Or just call 800-CAR-6100. 800-CAR-6100 and mention the code HERD.